He let all 3 of Dad's friends in. His pace slowed, then stopped. He drew back just enough to make me look up. "They're here," he said, calm as ever. "Now the real fun starts." And just like that, he left, walking out to greet them. Before we jump into this, I want to say something quick. Most of you who watch these videos haven't subscribed yet. If you're one of them, please take a second and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow and means more than you know. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. Your support is everything. All right, now let's begin. Eric's hands were firm on my waist, steady but slow, moving against me like he had all the time in the world. I was perched on the kitchen counter, my dress bunched up and pulled close against him. My breath caught as I struggled to stay quiet. The TV in the living room was blaring. The game was on. I could hear my dad and his friends shouting at the screen, voices loud just 20 feet away. Eric was one of Dad's closest friends, older, quieter, but nothing about him felt hesitant. He was steady, focused, every motion intentional, every shift filled with control. He moved like a man who knew exactly how to take his time. That control was exactly what drew me to him. His breath brushed my ear. "You like this, don't you?" he whispered, voice rough and low. "The risk?" I couldn't speak. I clung to his shoulders, barely stifling a sound as he leaned in closer. His focus tightened, confident and unshaken. I felt the counter creak beneath us, his grip steady as he held me in place. I didn't want him to stop. The sounds from the living room, ice clinking in glasses, laughter, the rise and fall of voices, only made it worse, or better. I couldn't tell anymore. My dad was right there. So were his other friends. And I was tangled up with one of them like I never wanted to let go. I covered my mouth with my hand, breath trembling, barely holding myself steady. Eric's attention never wavered. If anything, he seemed even more drawn in by how close we were. Then he froze. I looked up, breath sharp. Jude stood in the doorway, one of Dad's oldest friends, the loudest of the 3, always cracking jokes, now completely silent. Eric jolted back, already straightening up. "Go," he muttered. I slid off the counter, heart still racing, heat pulsing under my skin. I hurried upstairs. I lay on my bed, still flushed, the dress clinging to my legs. My pulse hadn't slowed. The energy still hummed under my skin. The sounds of the game kept coming from downstairs. A while later, quiet footsteps. The front door opened, then closed. They were gone. But what Eric started, I could still feel it everywhere. The next day, just after noon, I got a message from Tom. "You looked good last night. Want something even better?" I was already warm just thinking about how he'd looked at me in the kitchen. The smirk, the silence, how he'd walked away without saying a word. He hadn't told my dad, hadn't said anything at all. But now he was saying exactly what I wanted to hear. "Come by. I'll make it worth your time." Tom had always been the bold one, the loudest of the 3. Joking, teasing, always pushing the edge. But now it felt different, pointed, directer, like he knew I'd say yes. And he was right. I had a weakness for older men, especially ones like Dad's friends, men who still carry themselves like they didn't have to chase anything, men who let you come to them. Eric had lit a fire in me, but this was about to fan it. I didn't bother with excuses. I told my dad I had errands to run, then got dressed without overthinking it. Something simple, something casual. The drive over was short. I barely remember the roads, just the low hum in my chest, the pull that hadn't let up since last night, and the way my legs felt unsteady beneath me. The second I saw Tom's name on my phone screen. When I pulled into the driveway, the front door was already cracked open. He was waiting. I stepped inside and shut the door behind me. Jude was on the couch, one arm resting across the back, watching me like he'd been expecting this. He didn't smile, didn't speak, just stood, walked over, and wrapped his hands around my waist like we'd done this before. His lips found mine before I could even breathe. There was no hesitation, just heat, immediate and focused. I leaned into him, my fingers gripping his shirt as his hands pulled me closer until my back met the door. Clothes came off fast. His fingers found every clasp like he'd memorized them. My dress slipped to the floor without a sound. His shirt vanished as I reached for it. Nothing felt rushed, just inevitable. I moved in again, but he stopped me gently with a hand on my shoulder. "Slow," he said, voice low and steady. Then he guided me down. I lowered myself to the rug, his hand staying light but assured on my shoulder. I already understood what he wanted, and I wanted it just as much. I leaned forward, letting instinct take over. His breath hitched quietly, fingers threading into my hair in a way that felt steady, not controlling. I set the pace, deliberately slow and careful at first, watching his reactions and listening carefully to the way his breathing changed. He didn't say a word, but I could feel the tension build. Every shift of his body, every subtle inhale. I adjusted, adding pressure, changing pace, watching him respond. His jaw tensed, his eyes locked on mine, his whole body leaning into the moment. When he finally pulled me back up, his chest was rising unevenly. Without a word, he scooped me into his arms. I laughed softly, caught off guard, breath short as he carried me like I weighed nothing. The hallway blurred around us, but the tension sharpened. The bedroom door was already open. He didn't stop. Scene, bedroom, beginning. The moment I landed on the mattress, he was with me. Not frantic, just sure. His hands traced my thighs as he knelt beside the bed, spreading them with calm, deliberate care before leaning in. I arched instinctively. He started with a whisper of touch, barely there, coaxing reaction from the smallest movements. Then he adjusted just enough to keep me off balance. He changed pace before I could settle, shifting pressure, exploring every spot with precise attention. I couldn't hold still, my fingers twisted in the sheets. He never gave me what I expected, always one step ahead, always drawing me further in. By the time he moved up, I was shaking. He hovered over me, one hand at my waist, the other braced beside my head. When our bodies met, it wasn't rushed. He moved against me with quiet certainty, every shift deliberate and smooth. I held onto his arms as he found a rhythm that kept tightening the tension without ever breaking it. Then he adjusted the angle, changed the pattern. My back arched, breath stuck in my throat, everything winding tighter. He wasn't just confident, he was precise. He read my reactions and adapted instantly, not by luck, on purpose. It worked. I whispered his name before I realized I had. He smiled against my neck like that was exactly what he'd been waiting for. His pace changed again, slower, heavier, pulling me further in with each pass. I reached for the headboard, trying to hold myself steady, but the tension kept rising. I almost missed it. Just a faint knock, more like a tap. Jude stilled. He kissed my collarbone once, then stood up without a word. I watched him walk away, heart thudding. They were here, Once they were inside the room, they stood near the bed, calm and composed. There was no awkwardness, no pause, just presence. I sat up slowly, breath still uneven, and met their gaze. No one spoke. I slid to the edge of the mattress and lowered myself onto my knees. Jude stepped forward. I reached for him without hesitation, my fingers running down his thighs as I leaned in. His breath slipped out, sharp and quiet, one hand brushing my cheek. Eric moved in beside him. I welcomed him with the same ease, one hand moving to him while the other kept its rhythm. I alternated gently, shifting focus between them, reacting to their movements and the way their breathing changed. Gary stepped in last. I looked up at him, then leaned in, planting a soft kiss just above his hip. His hand landed on my shoulder, light but firm. I kept the motion going, circling between them, maintaining the rhythm as their restraint started to wear thin. When they lifted me, my whole body buzzed. Jude and Eric moved in sync, one beneath my arms, the other under my knees. They lowered me onto the bed like I was nothing but breath and weightless heat. John stepped between my legs the second I settled. "Finally, my turn," he said, voice low. I didn't speak, just waited. He leaned in with care, adjusting my position with one hand at my hip and the other behind my knee. I gripped the sheets as he began to move, measured and grounded, pulling me into his rhythm without force. Jude leaned down, his mouth at my collarbone, breath skimming across my skin. Eric knelt beside me, brushing hair from my face as he brought himself close again. I opened to him without hesitation. John never faltered. His movement stayed calm, steady. Jude's lips traveled lower, teasing warmth across my body. Eric brought my hand back to him, guiding me in without words. I was surrounded, hands, mouths, breath, motion. I couldn't keep track. I didn't want to. When John pulled back, the shift was seamless. Jude and Eric moved again, lifting me mid-air. One held my back, the other my legs, and they eased me onto Jude with practiced care. I wrapped around him instinctively. He was already ready. Then Eric stepped in behind. His hands landed on my hips, holding me in place. What followed was slower, heavier. I gasped a rush of air. No sound. My head dropped against Eric's shoulder as the motion between them locked into one steady rhythm. I was held, moved, surrounded. My breath fractured, pulse racing. Everything is tangled in theirs. When they finally lowered me again, I was trembling. But John was already waiting, lying back, ready. I climbed over him, palms braced on his chest, legs shaky beneath me. He caught my hips and steadied me as I began to move with him. Gradual, rolling rhythm that built with every shift. Jude returned behind me. His hands circled my waist, anchoring me as he pressed in closer. Each movement from him tightened the pressure between me and John. Then Eric stepped forward. He reached for me. I welcomed him again, bringing him into the rhythm with us, all three together. Thought vanished. Time stretched. I let go of everything. Every breath, every sound, every inch of me was wrapped in them. I didn't care where one ended and the next began. John was first. His breath caught, hands gripping tighter as his body went still. Jude followed his rhythm, faltering a sound low against my shoulder before he slowed. Eric pulled back last, breath stuttering, gaze locked on mine as the air around us went quiet. Stillness fell. I collapsed onto John, body weak, lungs aching for air. My limbs were useless, my skin flushed and buzzing. No one spoke. They stood around me, present, grounded, watchful. I stayed where I was, eyes half closed, unsure how much time had passed. Then I felt it. A familiar touch at my waist, a shift behind me. A presence I already knew. Leaning in, slow, patient, certain. My eyes opened. It wasn't over. I didn't hold back. I gave them everything I had, and they didn't let it go to waste. Be honest. Do you wish you were there too? If you were, what would you be doing? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading. Before you leave, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon so you never miss the next one. Thanks for watching. See you soon.